Hello friends. In this video you will see how the actors of this movie changed. You will know their real name and age. I'll show you how they looked back then. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Let's go.
Tom Cruise, playing a character named Maverick. Tom Cruise, real name Thomas Cruise Mapother IV, was 23 years old at the time. And by this time Tom Cruise was 50 years old. Tim Robbins, playing a character named Merlin. Tim Robbins, real name Timothy Francis Robbins, was 23 years old at the time. And Tim Robbins is now 50 years old. Kelly McGillis, playing a character named Charlie. Kelly McGillis, real name Kelly Ann McGillis, was 23 years old at the time. And at this time Kelly McGillis, already 50 years old. Val Kilmer, playing a character named Ice. Val Kilmer, real name Val Edward Kilmer, was 23 years old at the time. And by this time Val Kilmer was 50 years old. Anthony Edwards, playing a character named Goose. Anthony Edwards, real name Anthony Charles Edwards, at that time 23 years old. And at this time Anthony Edwards, already 50 years old. Tom Skerritt, playing a character named Viper. Tom Skerritt, real name Thomas Roy Skerritt, was 23 years old at the time. And by this time Tom Skerritt was 50 years old. Michael Ironside, playing a character named Jester. Michael Ironside, real name Frederick Reginald Ironside, was 23 years old at the time. And by this time Michael Ironside was 50 years old. John Stockwell, playing a character named Cougar. John Stockwell, real name John Stockwell Samuels IV, was 23 years old at the time. And by this time John Stockwell was 50 years old. Barry Tubb, playing a character named Wolfman. Barry Tubb, real name Barry York Tubb, was 23 years old at the time. And by this time Barry Tubb was 50 years old. Rick Rossovich, playing a character named Slider. Rick Rossovich, real name Frederick Enrico Rossovich, was 23 years old at the time. And by this time Rick Rossovich was 50 years old. Clarence Gilliard Jr., playing a character named Sundown. Clarence Gilliard Jr., real name Clarence Darnell Gilliard Jr., was 23 years old at the time. And by this time Clarence Gilliard Jr. was 50 years old. Whip Hubley, playing a character called Hollywood. Whip Hubley, real name Grant Shelby Hubley Jr., was 23 years old at the time. And by this time Whip Hubley was 50 years old. James Tolkien, playing a character named Stinger. James Tolkien, real name James Stewart Tolkien, was 23 years old at the time. And by this time James Tolkien was 50 years old. Meg Ryan, plays a character named Carol. Meg Ryan, real name Margaret Mary Emily Hyra, was 23 at the time. And by this time Meg Ryan was 50 years old. Adrian Pasdar, plays a character named Chipper. Adrian Pasdar, whose real name is Adrian Pasdar, was 23 years old at the time. And at this time Adrian Pasdar, already 50 years old. Duke Stroud, plays a character named Air Boss Johnson. Duke Stroud, whose real name was Duke Sumner Stroud, was 23 years old at the time. And by this time Duke Stroud was already 50 years old.